want to change the world? Start off by making your bed. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better.
Hey, Don.
Hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm top of the world. Well, that's not quite true. I just got my Jeep out of the shop for $1,800.
Oh, okay. So they didn't cover it, or they covered part of it?
No, what happens? They said that the contract calls for using Jeep parts. There were no Jeep parts. They said you'd have to wait 4 months to get a Jeep part in.
Okay.
So I just naively said, well, get another part. And so they did, and that voided the contract.
Oh, jeez. Okay. So was this your power control module? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, no, I haven't had a chance to really test it. I drove it home, but I didn't hit any of the circumstances that caused it to quit before. So I still don't know if it's fixed. I assume it is, but I won't know until it just shuts down on me.
So did they mention to you that the contract would be void if they put that part in, or?
He said he did. I don't remember it, but what he said was, he said we had to get a refurbished part.
Yeah.
No, he said they wouldn't pay for a refurbished part.
Okay.
I looked at the contract, and the contract says they're going to use refurbished parts, and if they can't find refurbished parts, they're going to provide new parts. Well, the approval came through from Chrysler authorizing the repair, going through what they call DealerNet, which is where they get their parts from Chrysler. And since we didn't go through DealerNet because they didn't have it and wouldn't have it for 4 months, they said the approval wasn't valid. So I'm going to call Chrysler tomorrow and just see what we can do, because it just doesn't seem right that because they haven't got the part, I got to pay for the whole thing.
Sounds like something's going on there.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Well,
I hope it's fixed. I mean,
that's
for your sake. I hope it's fixed for you and Mary and Margaret.
Right.
You don't have to stop on the highway.
No, that's a bad thing.
Yeah, not good. Yeah. So okay, well, good. So just waiting for anybody else to come on here. I know Jeff's not going to be on. He had some business to take care of, and I'm pretty sure Ken's back. And Zach said he had to take his wife for a procedure, so he won't be on. So it'll be you, me, and Ken if Ken gets on here. But right now we can just talk about anything we want.
Well, all right. Girls, we talk about girls.
Do you have a rant for this week? Anything driving you crazy, or
Jeep repairs?
Jeep repairs?
I don't
we covered that.
I don't think we need to cover that anymore.
Yeah, you got.
Well, let's see. What happened?
What's the local news on the sheriff front?
Well, nothing exciting on the sheriff front. He's saying he's doing everything he can, and he's following procedure and
of course,
everything like that. And they can't. How would I phrase this? Nobody's been able to point a valid finger at him and saying you're not doing your job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just kind of a he said, she said debate right now as
Of
to
course.
how well he's doing and is he doing everything he can and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I think that we got there's some real issues here with that whole scenario. Why would they steal her? And then
Yeah.
the ransom notes that have come in have been false. Most, they don't appear to have had any valid ransom notes.
Right.
So that's why I think that. But he said the family's been cleared. So um, that it isn't a ransom thing in the family now. What we don't know, and somebody asked, what did they ask? They asked, well, one thing they wanted to know was what was the sister's salary, and kind of implying that was this something the sister did to get the money that Savannah's getting, because Savannah's probably making $1 million a year at least as a primetime morning show hosted.
Oh yeah, she gets several million, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think the question was being raised, was there a little jealousy there? And somebody figured out how to get the house and some money and solve a lot
Yeah.
of problems at one time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, there's always that financial aspect to the rest of the family. And
Mhm.
Tommaso, I don't know what Tommaso's story. Hi, Ken. How are you, sir?
Hi guys, how we doing?
We're good. How'd your trip go?
Good.
Did you mission accomplished?
No, no, well, we're still up here. We're halfway through.
Oh, you're still there. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I knew you were
Halfway
not.
through.
I wasn't sure you were back because I knew you were not on your radio show Tuesday.
No, no, no. We're not
So
back
you're
yet.
still in Utah. You're still in Utah.
We had a granddaughter's baptism last Saturday, and our only daughter, getting married this Saturday.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay.
big week.
Good. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big week. Yeah.
What
Very
about the
good.
weather up there, Ken? Are you suffering any snow?
Uh, we had a snowstorm come through. We got a couple inches yesterday, and the mountains are white, and the air is crisp, and it's beautiful.
I bet it is.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I love about my house here in Green Valley is I can sit on the back porch in my short sleeves and look at the snow on the mountains behind me.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. There you go. So
But it has to.
we were talking about Mr. Nanos, and probably Ken's not going to have much information about the kidnapping in Utah, other than what we've heard.
Yeah.
No big news over there. So I have you got anything you'd like to rant about this week, Ken, or are you pretty satisfied with everything? Just enjoying
Well,
your family.
mostly enjoying the family. You know, I did notice that Governor Hobbs vetoed the second bill that the Republican legislature put forward to conform Arizona to the federal tax policy that was implemented in the One Big Beautiful Bill.
Okay.
She vetoed the first bill. At the same time, she instructed her Department of Revenue to issue tax forms for Arizona residents that were mostly in sync with what the federal government had done.
Okay.
But the Republicans went a little bit further or different than what she said she wanted in her state of the state, but she had instructed her Department of Revenue to release forms that were based on a third model. So when she vetoed the first bill, everyone said, okay, well, surely she can't expect the Republicans to come completely to her stated preference because her stated preference in the state of the state didn't even include the exemption for taxes or wages through tips and not taxing a certain portion of Social Security wages and all that.
Yeah.
So the Republicans said, well, if you're going to veto our first bill, but you've told your Department of Revenue to issue tax forms for Arizona taxpayers to use, we will pass a bill that conforms to what you told your Department of Revenue to issue the forms for. So they did that, and she still vetoed it. So it is a mess. If you can if you could concoct a mess any better, I don't know how you could do it. But
I also heard that, what did I hear about? I heard that all of the state recorders asked the primary to be moved up 2 weeks.
well, everybody working in elections realized that if we didn't move the primary up a couple of weeks, that there was a chance that our military and overseas voters
Right.
wouldn't be able to get their ballots on time. And so, in a rare act of bipartisanship and unanimity, I think the bill to move up the primary election a couple weeks did pass and was signed by Hobbs. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I did hear something about that. So Shauna Bolick sent out a message about that in her email blast. So okay, well, that just means, I guess, if you're in Arizona for state taxes, if you file now, you might have to file an amendment, right?
You might.
Yeah.
Ironically, the forms that the Department of Revenue of Governor Hobbs issued do recognize the federal exemption on taxes on wages and a certain portion not being taxed on your Social Security. So
Yeah.
I think what wins the day eventually is something along the lines of what her Department of Revenue is issuing as far as the forms and instructions on how to use them. So I'm going to wait and see if they can get it resolved before I file my forms. Of course, I use an online thing, TurboTax, and
Right.
I'm sure they're scrambling to.
Yeah, they've got to update their software. So yeah.
Yeah, they got to update their software. So, the forms, they're probably using forms but they're probably sitting in the back room saying, okay, if we have a bunch of amended returns, that won't bother them at all.
That's right.
Because I'm sure they'll charge for each one of those amended returns.
Well, just to let you guys know, we already filed our taxes. We filed about 10 days ago, I think, and we discovered that you have to have this year to file your taxes. There are exceptions. There are some people that got letters with this information in it from the IRS, but we had to get a special, what they call an IP PIN number this year. It's a 6-digit number assigned only to you. And if you file jointly, you both have to have a different PIN number. And so you have to go to the irs.gov and request that PIN number, and they do it through giving them a picture of your driver's license, and then they do a facial recognition thing to make sure you are you, and then they issue the 6-digit PIN number, and then the return TurboTax asks you for that 6-digit number and says they will not accept your taxes without that number. So I don't know if you guys heard about all that or not, but yeah.
No, it seems like they had a PIN number. Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah. I'm sure I'll see the same thing when I file using TurboTax, but
Yeah.
I'm sure this is being done because people have been impersonating
Absolutely.
other taxpayers,
Sure.
filing a tax return to get a refund, and then when the real taxpayer under that Social Security number files, the IRS says, "Hey, we already got your return and we sent you a refund." So there's unfortunately a lot of that fraud going on, and
yeah. Well, this is their new
and hopefully,
system.
I think we're headed to the same place in our ballots, mail-in ballots.
Yeah.
I hope it's not much longer that we, like, for example, in Arizona, if you send in your ballot by mail, the way the recorders have verified you that you are you is comparing the signature that you signed on the outside of the envelope with the signature that they have on your voter registration document. Well, that's a pretty poor way of verifying somebody's identity.
Yeah.
And I think eventually we will get to a point where you're going to have to establish some type of a code with the county recorder's office that they know it's really you. And if you've registered to vote and said that your cell number is whatever it is, they're going to want to contact you and have you verify that code in order to process your ballot.
There you go.
Because your ballot's even more important than your tax return.
Yeah,
and if they're going to these lengths to verify your tax return, then we ought to be going to the same or better lengths to verify your ballot.
Good point. Yeah, and that might be the good way to do it, is to give you a special number to only you know, right? Yeah. So good idea.
And it changes every year.
Right.
Because under Arizona law, election jurisdictions, and that's usually the counties, they have to contact every voter every year and say, are you still at this address? And they have to send a sample ballot to the address that they have on file. And election mailing material cannot be, forwarded through the mail. And so there's all kinds of things already in place. But to me, that security number could or should change every year so that somebody hasn't messed with your identity in the last 12 months.
And that's what they're doing with the IRS. It changes they say it changes it's going to change every year, and they're using My ID, which is a company that does the ID verification. I already had an account with my VA account. You might have one too, Paul.
I have one for Social Security and Medicare.
Okay. Yeah. So they're the ones that did it. I had to get Patty set up to get her PIN number because she hadn't been involved with them yet. So anyway, yeah, good. That's a good idea about ballots. So I like that. That's another precaution, and that kind of works us into the SAVE Act and where we're at with the SAVE Act. Congress has passed. U.S. Congress passed the SAVE Act, but it's sitting in the Senate now. I just was doing a little homework this morning about that, and we have Susan Collins has now come on board with the SAVE Act. So we now have 50 senators. We have 50. County Vance, I guess that'd be 51, counting the vice president. So the only holdouts that we know of are Murkowski. And they say McConnell just hasn't said. He's just stayed quiet. So, maybe they got to wake him up and read it to him to see if he agrees or not. But I don't know. But he said he hasn't really signed up to it, but he hadn't said no. So it's whatever. But and I guess they must have got Grassley on board because he was against it at one time. He said Iowa knows how to run elections. We don't need to say that. So whatever, Chuck. Anyway, I still, it's funny that they're talking about states' rights, Ken, as far as elections goes, but the federal government sets the rules, right? And the states then set up the elections, right? If the federal government wants more rules, like they want you to show an ID and prove you're a citizen, is that really interfering with states' rights in a federal election?
In my opinion.
I mean, for a federal election, not for a state election.
Well,
yeah.
To me, there are fundamental policies about how elections are conducted that should apply to all elections, whether they're, so when the federal government establishes some certain policies, and because I'm traveling, I can't reach across my desk at home and grab you the U.S. Constitution. Maybe one of you guys have it handy there, but the primary responsibility for conducting elections is delegated in the U.S. Constitution to the states. But there is a phrase about some federal involvement, and the federal government, I think, has and should continue to weigh in on certain, like it's federal legislation that provides for, or that requires the states to provide for these military and overseas veteran voting.
Yeah.
It's called
Yeah.
UOCAVA,
Right. Yeah.
Uniformed Overseas Citizens and Something Voting Act.
Yeah.
And so I don't have a problem with. And during the 6 years I was Secretary of State, we worked in concert with certain fundamental policies that affected all elections, including federal ones. But the other details related to state and local elections kind of get filled in at the state and local level.
Right.
But yeah, it can get a little ugly because sometimes the states complain about the federal government, and other times they're kind of relying on the federal government to do things. I think one of the fundamental things that should apply to all elections is what's essentially in the SAVE Act. We're only U.S. citizens
And vote.
and citizens of each state should be voting in elections,
Right.
and you should show identification to prove that you qualify to be participating in our elections. And that's really what the SAVE Act does. You got to be a citizen, and you got to show ID that you are one if you're going to participate in them.
And then I don't know if you guys saw it this week, but they were playing a video where it was back when Obama was president, and he went into his polling place and they asked him for his ID. And he pulls out his ID and shows it to him, and then they let him vote. So that's
at the Democrat National Convention, you have to show ID to vote.
Yeah.
So
sure.
why are 47 Democrats in the U.S. Senate against applying the same principle to U.S. elections?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Ken. You know why? Okay. Yeah. What you were quoting in the Constitution, I think, Ken, is Article 1, Section 4. The times, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof, but Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations, except as to the place of choosing senators. So I think that's what you were talking about, is the states
Yes.
have the right to set up the elections, but the Congress can put in a legal restriction or condition at that point.
And I know that's great. Thanks, Paul, for checking on that. I know that just in the Supreme Court today, they were up arguing the case of election day versus election month.
Yeah.
Based on I think it was I'm not sure it was in Illinois. Extending from the day of the election to the several days later or several
like
weeks
12
later.
days later,
yeah, something like that. So that was right in front of the Supreme Court today. So that'll be another decision if they decide, well, there is an election day and that's it. So,
and I think it was included somewhere in there. Nobody wants to make that a federal holiday so that nobody has the excuse that they can't make it to the election because they're working.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Yeah.
And then in conjunction with our discussion of elections, the Board of Supervisors of Maricopa County is trying to can the recorder, the elections recorder there. Can't think of his name right now, but he's evidently Heap. That's it. He's evidently following the law, which says that the voter rolls need to be cleaned and purged and adjusted, and the Board of Supervisors doesn't want that to happen, it appears. So they're trying to get him removed.
What's her name? I'm trying to think of the gal that was in Congress. She's on that Board of Supervisors now, right?
Debbie Lesko.
Yeah. Debbie Lesko. Yeah. I can't imagine that she would be. She wouldn't be for cleaning the voter rolls.
There's some stories that are coming out in the media that I think are contributing to the interpretation that Paul just expressed. I would respectfully say that is a failing in our media of reporting the truth, because the real difference, and I have followed this very closely, because you do have former Congresswoman Debbie Lesko, you have others on the board, and they are not trying to get rid of HEAP, but in a meeting that they had a few weeks ago, the recorder, HEAP, said that no voters had been disenfranchised in a previous election. I think it was the 2024 election. But 3 people on his staff provided testimony in a court case, in the court case between the Board of Supervisors and the recorder, about how the responsibilities of elections in Maricopa County should be divided between the two. 3 key people on his staff said that several hundred, or even might have been a few thousand voters in Maricopa County were somehow disenfranchised and prevented from voting last year, or in 2024. But then in the meeting with the county recorder, he said that nobody is. So the Board of Supervisors called for the recorder to come and testify. Was he telling them the truth, that nobody was disenfranchised? And if so, which I think is true, but is that the truth, or these 3 people from his staff that testified that some may have been or were disenfranchised? And it all has to do with if you cast a ballot and there's a question about your address matching, or you didn't show ID, or the county already has record that they mailed you a ballot and received that ballot back in the mail, so they already consider you to have voted, and then you show up at a polling place and want to vote again, they got to put a little break on one or the other, so that you're not voting twice. And in those unique situations, while they're making sure that somebody hasn't voted twice, or they're making sure that their address matches or whatever, state law gives you 5 days, 5 business days, to come in and clear up any of those questions. And 3 of his staff members said that in the last election, a few hundred people weren't given the full 5 days or something. They weren't given the full 5 days to come in and clear up whatever was being questioned. And so, because I'm with you, Paul, an elected Board of Supervisors should not be removing an elected county recorder just because they have some political differences. And yes, they're in court fighting over how they're going to divide up the responsibilities of elections between the Board of Supervisors and the recorder in Maricopa County. But every county in Arizona has to figure those things out, and it should not involve one elected body trying to impeach or remove the other elected individual. So Lesko has said she supports getting answers to these questions, but she does not support removing HEAP from office.
And relying on the courts and the judge to decide that, right? Yeah, I get it. So, well, I know she has always been very respectful of Debbie Lesko. She has pretty good judgment. And I don't know how many are all of those people on Maricopa County Supervisors. Are they all Republicans, or are there some Democrats?
There's 4 Republicans and 1 Democrat. So you've got Kate Brophy McGee. Kate Brophy McGee is a former state legislator. Now she's known as being kind of right center, but not far right. Yeah. But you've got Republicans that, if you're not far right, they call you a rhino, like they've done to me. You got Debbie Lesko, you got Kate Brophy McGee. Let's see, who's the other? There's a guy named Stewart, who's kind of considered to be the most conservative of the 4 Republicans. Then you got Steve Gallardo, who is the one Democrat. Steve Gallardo used to work for the Maricopa County Elections Department. And so he gets pretty excited about all things elections.
Yeah.
And then I am drawing a blank. I know him well,
Republican.
but the fourth Republican is from
Well,
the
Debbie
East
was
Valley, and why can't
Debbie
I-
was newly elected, right? Debbie was newly elected. How about the other
Yeah, I
three?
think she was a couple of years ago, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. Because she was in Congress up until 2024, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got a name in front of you, Paul, or one of the four supervisors? Or does the article name the four supervisors?
I don't have that. I just going from memory.
Oh, okay.
Just
Gotcha.
the AZ or Easy AZ group
Gotcha.
with Marissa, who they stay on top of the board of supervisors and things Maricopa County pretty hard, and that's I got on their list. So
It's interesting.
I'll think of his name when I'm not trying to think of it. But
yeah, I'm sure. Understand, kid. So yeah,
that'll be at 3:00 this morning.
So we talked a little bit about before you came on, Ken. We talked a little bit about the kidnapping and where we were at and what's going on. We did, and I don't know if nationally we noticed today that they have a sea of reporters camped along her street where her house is at.
wow.
With a 24-hour a day camera going that you can watch and put your comments on, right? You believe that?
Actually, what I saw this morning was they're mostly media. What do you call it? Social media streamers and influencers.
Yeah.
And the sheriff's trying to run them off, and they're just hanging in there because they're sure if it's going to happen, it's going to happen there.
Yeah, there you go. So, but we're not hearing a lot the last couple days. There's something about they contacted the Mexican authorities.
Yeah, they've contacted the Mexican authorities, and the Mexican authorities say, to their best of their knowledge, she has not entered the country of Mexico.
Okay.
So that there were a lot that entered our country that we didn't know about. So it's theoretically possible.
Yeah.
She was not, passed through the border with a passport.
Yeah. Well, if the perpetrators would know somebody on the border or known the border guard and could give him some money, they could take whoever they wanted into the country. So
that's
that's about. But that's the only thing we've heard about the whole thing. Is other than they're not making any progress and their DNA is not showing any results. So
they're talking about using commercial like 23andMe, genealogy people to check and see if they can find they don't think they'll find a match, but they might find a close relative or something to lead them into another path.
Wow.
The one thing that's I always got on my mind is the president sending a second carrier group over to the Middle East. And,
that was my next thing was what's going to happen in Iran and where we at there. Yeah, I heard about the second carrier group, and I heard that Iran was playing around in the Straits of Hormuz with their weaponry, I guess.
Well, and they're having joint exercises with the Russians
Yeah.
in the Arabian Sea there.
Yeah.
So that's a bad look.
Yeah.
We've also sent a bunch of aircraft, over 48, I think it was F-35s and F-22s over to that part of the world, build up there, and then sending AWACS and tankers.
Yeah.
So they're loading it up over there, and I don't know if that's in anticipation of actually doing something, or of just trying to get the Khomeini government to cry uncle. And
the Air Force is just training, Paul.
Okay.
Big training exercise.
Training with live ammo, huh?
You gotta, if you're going to be a good pilot, you got to fly, and if you got to fly, you got to fly a lot. So,
You need to practice dropping bombs.
You guys fly over to the Middle East next week, and we'll keep your gas on hand, and you'll be in good shape. So, yeah.
One thing that I was kind of listening to this morning as I was driving into the repair shop. They said that they sent. My numbers are going to be wrong, whatever they are, but they said they sent 20 or so F-22s from England over to where Air Force Base they're sending them to in the Middle East, and almost half of them had to turn around and go back because of technical difficulties. And that was kind of a scary thought that almost half of the flight couldn't make the trip.
Yeah,
So
I'll have to check stars and stripes on that one.
Yeah, but that's the thing about the more technically advanced your craft is, the more things that can go wrong, and the more interaction there is between that thing that went wrong and three other things, and that was one of the nice things about the Huey. It had a starter and a throttle, and if you could get the starter to make the rotor blades turn, it was probably going to get where it was going.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, less complicated.
The fourth Republican is Tom Galvin. Galvin.
Okay.
And the other guy is Mark Stewart. I could remember Stewart. I couldn't remember Mark off the top of my head. So you got 4 Republicans and 1 Democrat on that Maricopa County board.
Are Galvin and Stewart other political offices, or did they just get into the supervisor role as a non-political
I don't
person?
remember. Seems like Stewart might have been on a city council out in the East Valley, Mesa or Gilbert or something like that. But now he's board of supervisors, and so and he's generally considered to be the most conservative, probably along with Lesko, of the 4 Republicans. Galvin and Brophy are kind of definitely right leaning, but like that Marissa, I think she got married, so it used to be Hamilton, now it's something else. But she's usually very critical of Brophy McGee and Galvin. But even far right Republicans have turned on Lesko a little bit just because she voted to subpoena. She voted to subpoena Recorder Heap to come in and explain whether he was right and there was no voter disenfranchisement, or his staff people that said there might have been were right, because both can't be right.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Well, we have that one side nationally, we have that select group of Republicans that when 100 things are right and one thing is wrong, the only thing they're going to talk about is the one thing that's wrong.
Yeah.
And forget about the other 100. So, yeah.
And then we've got some Republicans like Murkowski and Collins where, man, they might be on board 60% of the time or 51 or whatever, but you can't count.
I know. Yeah. Yeah, it's.
But I'm glad to see Collins. I'm glad to see Collins on, and I've assumed from the articles that I've read that means they're going to force the Democrats to do an actual floor filibuster, or otherwise they're going to vote on the SAVE Act, and that I wholeheartedly support, because only U.S. citizens should be voting in our elections nationwide, and you should be showing identification in order to prove that you do qualify to vote.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, Ken. I think that's where we're going. I think they are gonna push for an actual filibuster. If they're going to filibuster, you do it or shut up, and we're going to vote. So, I think that's what's going to happen.
I hope they do get to a vote on the SAVE Act itself.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I do too. That's really important. Yeah.
I got a letter back today from Ruben Gallego. I write him regularly. You'd think we were lovers sometimes, the number of letters I send to him.
I tell you, that letter you sent me from Kelly was embarrassing.
But anyway,
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I wrote him about the SAVE Act and told him effectively that anybody who loved America would want only U.S. citizens to vote in our elections, and that anybody who voted against the Save Act probably wanted to be elected by people who weren't supposed to be voting. And he wrote back and said, "Oh, I'm just trying to keep from disenfranchising," effectively is what he's saying. But he said, "To keep our democracy such and such and such and such." So I wrote him back and I said, "It would be best if you understood how our system of government works. We aren't a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. Anybody
right.
with an eighth grade education knows that. How did you get to
Yeah.
be a senator?" So we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, you'll get a response.
I keep waiting for the FBI to knock on my door.
Yeah. You'll just throw it in the trash can. Or one of his aides will, right? So,
Right.
yeah, one of his aides will. So anyway, back to Iran. What do you guys think is going to happen there? Are
We will
we
we will
going to
strike
make?
within the next three. We will strike Iran within the next 3 to 4 weeks, in my opinion.
Oh, okay. Hey, good, Ken. Jump right in there. So yeah, all right. That's your prediction.
Yeah.
What do you think, Paul? You think that's going to happen?
I Gosh, I tend to agree with Ken on that, but I also think that it might just be with the problems they're having internally in Iran right now. They've killed what 30,000 of their citizens who
That's
have
what
been
we've heard.
protesting.
Yeah.
So you've got an internal issue, and now he's got an external issue, and
Yeah.
maybe they just want to move over to Qatar or well, not Saudi. I don't think they'll have them, but to Abu Dhabi, Qatar, somewhere in there, and retire when on the money they've stolen, and let the country go.
Yeah.
He's an old man, and
Yeah.
he doesn't
You
need
think
all
they
that
would?
money.
I would think they would go to Yemen where the Houthis are.
Well, that might be that
You know?
somewhere, but
Yeah.
just bail out and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah. Because he could. I mean, he could go stay with Hezbollah, or he can't still. He can't go stay with Hamas because Hamas got nothing left now. So they're they're slowly being decimated. But he could go stay with Hezbollah or the Houthis. They probably built him a palace or something, right?
Uh,
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think of it. I have to. I'm going to hold off on my prediction, but I think Ken's on to something. I think he could very well be right in the next 3 or 4 weeks. That would take us out to mid-March,
yeah.
end of March. So
It, it was
yeah.
commented this morning on this thing I was listening to that there's no buildup of U.S. troops, U.S. ground troops anywhere in the vicinity right now. So
Oh yeah. And
that's a good sign.
I think they removed a lot of them, so they wouldn't be vulnerable to to Iran hitting their base, especially in Qatar. They got quite a few guys that base in Qatar. I think
Yeah.
that's where the airplanes are probably flying to. But of course, we have we have
Well,
all the aircraft on the carriers.
Russia made a statement, released a statement today, encouraging Iran and the U.S. and everyone else to calm it
Calm
down a
down.
little bit in the Straits of Hormuz, because Iran closed
Yeah,
the Straits for almost a
yeah,
day last
Yeah.
week,
yeah.
and that's a big deal.
Yeah,
And
I think I heard
so
20% of the oil
I
in the
hope you're right.
world goes
I
through
hope
there.
I hope we don't have. I hope we don't have to, but
Yeah,
there's just something in my gut that says we're going to have to go in and do some strategic bombing
yeah, yeah.
that will make last times look like peanuts.
Well, it makes you wonder if Russia told us to everybody to calm down a little bit. You wonder if Trump didn't call up Putin and say, "Why don't you calm down in the Ukraine a little bit?"
Exactly.
Well, and that's something to consider too. That
Yeah.
Iran and Russia may have some kind of a article, or what is it? Article 5 of our NATO contract that says if you attack one, you attack all. And I don't know if Russia and Iran have written up anything like that in the contract, but Russia's stretched pretty thin militarily right now with the
Yeah.
Ukraine. And if they have to try to take up a war in Iraq, Iran, um,
Yeah.
with the stretched as thin as they are, they don't want to fight a two-front war either. So
Yeah. And obviously, after Midnight Hammer, they didn't choose to do anything. So
mhm.
I don't, know if they have an agreement or not. But yeah, interesting. They make those kind of things. They claim to be working on all these, business agreements, business deals with everything. I wonder if they're getting any oil out of Iran, with everything going on. That would be the question I have, because we've pretty much, there was a lot of talk that I saw this morning about Cuba and how they're cut off from oil right now, and they're also beginning to show signs that they might want to change their MO. So
Political orientation.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They're struggling right now, and we're not letting. I guess they were getting the oil from Venezuela, is what I understand, and that's totally stopped now. So and we're
The Navy's been pretty good about picking up on these ghost ships that
yeah,
fly X country's flag halfway across the ocean and Y's country flag into the
yeah,
next port to
yeah.
avoid the sanction issues.
There
But
you go.
that's a big deal. It's got to be very painful for somebody.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah.
I
So let
don't
me
know
see, what else can we, what else? I think we pretty much covered everything on my notes today. I didn't have, um, we did talk about the filibuster. So, yeah, I think that's everything I had listed. Go ahead, Ken. You want to bring something up?
I would just encourage our listeners and us as the commentators to listen to Marco Rubio's talk to the Munich security
Oh yeah, I did.
conference.
Did hear it. Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
He
very good.
he
Yeah.
nailed it.
Yeah, I loved it when he said to sum it up for the audience, he pretty much said we came out of World War II almost with a globalist fantasy that everything was going to be okay, that we could just, how did he put it?
That the old history was now dead, and that
Yeah,
we didn't have
yeah,
to be countries anymore, and we were just going to
right.
have this
No
uh,
borders and all kumbaya.
no global order and all this stuff. And he said that was a delusion.
Yeah,
But then he went on to say, we got to strengthen our international relations by
right.
being strong individually
Yeah.
and then working
Sovereign
together.
countries. Yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah.
said America's interests come first for America,
Hmm.
but Europe's interest of the individual countries that are our allies
Yeah.
are right there too. And anyway, just I
Yeah.
think it's about 25 minutes long.
Yeah,
Maybe it
it's
might be
excellent.
30, but
Yeah.
he really, I think, hit it. I think he must have been having some dry mouth because he was having the darndest time talking. Um, and he didn't reach for a glass of water. So maybe the
Europeans
organizers of
trying to
the
starve him.
conference, yeah, they were trying to make it hard for him by not even having a little glass of water next to him.
Make him
But
thirsty. Well, the only country that got up and whined about it was Germany,
Yeah.
from what he said. I didn't hear any other country really
well,
stand up and any other country's leader stand up and give a speech. And
well,
It's
yeah,
interesting. It's
but
and
you're right.
he went through it. He went
Yeah,
through and talked about how different parts of America were really built by different
yeah,
Yeah.
people
yeah.
that came
Ethnic
from different
groups.
parts of
Yeah,
Europe. It
sure.
started with the Italians, Columbus, and
Yeah,
all of that.
yeah.
Then he went to the English as
And
far
the
as the
Irish.
Pilgrims.
Yeah, yeah,
He went to the Irish. He went to the
yeah.
Dutch. He went to the
Right.
Spanish. He went to French. He reminded everybody that we didn't build the United States of America from scratch. We built it with all of some of all of your people coming over, and
Yeah.
um,
Legal migration.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right. Ellis Island. Yeah. You came
It's
through Ellis Island. You had to prove you were healthy, and you had to prove that you could sustain yourself. That you wouldn't need You wouldn't need the United States government to help you
and
subsistence.
AOC slammed him for saying that the Spanish brought the horses over to America.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah.
and of
I
course,
I, cou-
everybody.
I couldn't understand much of what she said when I heard one of her comments. I don't think anybody really knew what she'd saying at the time, but
I was telling Mary Margaret there was something on the computer that said that AOC, and I said, I told Mary Margaret, I said, I don't think this is true, but this is so close to what it might be. She says, she was asking, which is more important, the sun or the moon? And she said, well, the moon's more important because we need that light at night. With the sun out, we don't need that light because it's already light.
could be true. Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's so feasible.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's very true. So yeah. But no, that's a good point, Ken, about Marco's speech over there. It was great, and I did listen to it, and I hope the audience. I'll put a link in the description below when I release the video to that speech because it was very good, and yeah, a lot of people talking about it. A lot of people you wouldn't expect to mention it have mentioned it. So yeah, it was great.
He even named his maybe great grandparents by name in Spain, who were living in 1776 when America was formed, and how ironic and beautiful it is that one of their direct descendants would be the chief diplomat for the United States of America, standing in Europe, talking about all these things 250 years later. It was pretty cool.
It was great. Yeah. And the point I'd like to make is, Europe, the problem that Europe has now is individual countries is the EU itself, right? The EU governing body, which is a unelected bunch of bureaucrats that think that really ignore the sovereignty of all the countries there and try to be the ultimate voice of everybody. And some countries like Italy and Hungary and some of those people, they don't care for that. They say, well, you can do these things you're supposed to do, but you're not going to speak for us when it comes to things like migration and those things. So they what's his name? And I'm trying to think of the Hungarian prime minister. They tried to trap him with him and President Trump when if he was going to be reelected or not. What would we do if he wasn't reelected? And I guess it was Marco. Marco went to Hungary right after the Munich thing, and so he said, "Well, we've lost elections before, but Hungary's not going to really change their positions much." He says we're pretty steady along most of our positions. So he wasn't particularly concerned, and Marco just sort of ignored the question. It was an American reporter. I think it might have been CNN. I don't know, but ask a stupid question, you get a stupid answer. So yeah. So anything else you guys want to bring up? Any comments? Anything else going on? Huh? Well, it's good to see you guys. Jeff couldn't be with us today, Ken. Jeff was in. He had to take his mother for a procedure today, so.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I told him we'd say a prayer for him and her.
And we might be changing our time next week too.
Yeah, it's possible. I'll tell you why. We have this, and I think I told you guys about this last year. We have a dinner with a group called OM Ships. It's a fundraiser where they distribute Bibles around the world. They have 2 ships that go around the world, and they give away Bibles. They pull into different ports. It's sort of like a floating mall full of books and Bibles, Christian books. And so they collect all these books and Bibles, and they have a warehouse in South Carolina that they organize it all, and then they get them out to the ships, and they put them on these 2 ships and sail around the globe, giving these Christian books and Bibles away. So it's a fundraiser. So we would either have to start at 1:30 your time, or what did I estimate? 6:30? Did I say?
Or something.
6:15? Yeah. So you guys think about that. Ken's already answered me, but if that's okay with you, Paul, let me know, and I'll see what I get back from Jeff, and I'll let you guys know by the end of the week if we're going to change.
Okay. The 26th
other
is
option-
open for me.
Yeah, the other option of not doing that is to do it record on a different day. So that might be harder to organize. So, yeah. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. And thanks to Ken and thanks to Paul for coming on. And we appreciate your viewing and like and subscribe. And this is 4 Minute America signing off. And God bless America, everybody. Have a safe trip home, Ken.
Thank you.
Now, wait a minute, Jack. This is a friendly celebration.
I don't much like the way you celebrate.